You know, it's funny to think about, but right under your feet and inside your walls, there's this entire hidden world of pipes. It's working for you 24/7, totally silent. But what you probably don't realize is that it's fighting this constant, invisible battle every single day. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, see, your home's plumbing isn't just a bunch of metal and plastic tubes. Nope. It's this super complex system that's always reacting to the world around it. And when things start to go wrong, it doesn't just give up. It actually tries to warn you. It sends out signals.
So the real question is, are you actually listening? So often, the very first warnings of a huge, expensive problem are disguised as these small, everyday annoyances. You know, the kind of stuff you just shrug off. Let's look at a few common messages you might be missing.
Right, you hear this and you probably just think, that's weird, and you just go about your day. But that gurgle? That could literally be your drain line gasping for air because there's a blockage forming way down deep in your sewer system.
Oh, this one's a classic. It's so easy to just blame it on some hair, pour some chemical drain cleaner down there, and call it a day. But what if it's a symptom of something way bigger? Like, what if a whole section of the pipe has sunk? They call that a bellied pipe, and now it's creating this little swamp where waste just sits and collects. Or maybe it's the arteries of your pipe slowly closing up after decades of mineral buildup. Okay, now this one's a little harder to just ignore. When your bill suddenly skyrockets for no reason, your house isn't whispering anymore, it is shouting at you. This is the classic sign of a hidden leak, quietly wasting gallons and gallons of water and maybe even causing massive damage somewhere you can't even see.
And that right there, that's the key to all of this. These sounds, these slow drains, they are not random glitches. They are critical clues. Think of them as the first breadcrumbs on a trail that leads to the real story of what's happening inside your home's plumbing.
All right, so to really get this, let's dive into a real-world battleground, a place called Peachtree Corners in Georgia. By looking at the specific challenges folks face there, we can start to understand the universal forces that could be attacking your own home too.
So, in Peachtree Corners, the homes are basically fighting a war on 4 different fronts at the same time. You've got this aggressive red clay soil, intense subtropical humidity, pipes that are getting old, we're talking from the 70s to the 90s, and really high water pressure coming from the city. I mean, any one of those is tough. All 4, that's a serious fight.
Now what's so wild here is that the ground itself is an active enemy. This isn't just dirt we're talking about, it's a dynamic force. When it rains, that red clay swells up like a sponge, and when it's dry, it shrinks. That movement literally squeezes, bends, and crushes the sewer and water lines running underground until they just crack or collapse. And get this, the enemy isn't just underground. Sometimes it's in the very air you breathe. That classic southern humidity, it's constantly creating condensation on metal pipes and water heaters, which makes them rust and corrode from the outside in. So a system that's supposed to last, say, 15 years, it might give out in 10, all because of the air around it. So we've met the enemies. But how does a professional plumber connect that gurgling toilet, the symptom, to the actual source of the problem, like that red clay soil? Well, this is where plumbing stops being just about wrenches and starts becoming detective work. And this quote right here, this is the entire philosophy that separates a real pro from just some person with a tool. I mean, anyone can poke a hole in a clog and make it work for a day. But a master plumber's job is to ask why it clogged in the first place and to solve that problem so it never happens again. This table really shows you that detective mindset in action. Just look at how every simple clue on the left points to a much bigger, nastier culprit on the right. That sewer backup, it's probably not just a clog. More likely, it's an invasion of tree roots that are broken right through your old pipes. And that low water pressure you're dealing with, that's a sign your home's arteries are literally hardening from decades of corrosion. So how do they prove their suspicions? Well, the pros don't guess. They use some really cool tech to see the invisible. They'll send tiny cameras deep into your drain lines to get a first-hand look at the root damage. Or they'll use these electronic listening devices to pinpoint the exact location of a tiny leak hidden under a concrete slab. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so once the diagnosis is confirmed, it's time to go on the offensive. Time to launch a counterattack. But you gotta know, not all solutions are created equal. A real professional uses a specific strategy that's designed for a long-term victory, not just a temporary truce with the problem. Just look at the difference here. On one hand, you've got snaking a drain.
That's kind of like punching a little hole through a dam made of gunk. Sure, some water gets through, but most of the blockage is still there, just waiting to clog up again. But then you have hydrojetting. That's like bringing in the demolition crew and blasting the entire dam away with a high-pressure washer, scouring the pipe walls totally clean and making them good as new.
You know, the important thing here is that a professional response isn't just chaos and guesswork. It's a clear, predictable process. They show up and figure out what's really going on. They give you a firm price that you approve before any work starts, and then they test everything afterward to make sure it's fixed right and back it up with a warranty. No surprises, period. And when you do see that final price, it's really important to understand what you're paying for. It's not just a piece of pipe. That big chunk, the labor, that's for the licensed expert's brain, the years and years of training it takes to diagnose the problem correctly and fix it so your house doesn't flood. The rest is about using quality parts, how hard it is to get to the problem, and being ready to show up at 3 a.m. for an emergency.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. We've been deep in the weeds in Peachtree Corners, but the lessons from this battle are totally universal. They apply to your home, right now, no matter where on earth you live.
And this, right here, is the biggest takeaway of all. Maybe your enemy isn't red clay. Maybe it's sandy soil that causes pipes to shift. Or maybe it's super hard water that's clogging your pipes from the inside out. Or brutal winter freezes that threaten to burst them. The fundamental battle, though, it's exactly the same. Your home's hidden network is under constant assault from its local environment and just the simple, relentless march of time.
So, that leaves us with one last thing to think about. The clues are there. You just have to listen. That gurgle, that slow drain, that crazy high water bill. Now that you know what they could really mean, the only question left is, what invisible battle is happening inside your walls? And what are the hidden enemies your home is fighting right now?